Man, do I have a story for you guys today. Alright, I made a post about this. It's very long. So if you could make a video about it, it might be a little bit shorter. It's still going to be pretty long. Anyways, the story is how it started is last night I got off work. My sisters had a appointment to go to, so they weren't going to be available to give me a ride home when I got off at 6. So I ended up being fortunate enough to receive a ride from a fellow coworker who happened to actually live on the opposite side of town. So he went out of his way to give me a ride home. And I really do appreciate that. Thank you, Drew, in case you ever do see this video. I really do appreciate it, man, so much. So thank you for doing that for me. And since he did that for me, it was a favor. And since he was already doing me a favor, I didn't want to ask too much or really any more from him. But that day when I had came to work, I was out of my vape juice. So I was already out. I was already running low. I needed to get more. And so when he was giving me a ride home, I thought about it, but I didn't ask because I didn't want to push my luck, and beggars can't be choosers, right? So I didn't want to be that guy and ask any more from him. So I didn't. I held my tongue, and I thought about it. I said, you know what, I'll just figure it out on my own when I get home. That's not his problem, so I'm not going to put that on him, and I'm not going to ask that of him. So I didn't. So today, it's another day. I went all night without that, right? Today, this morning, I was really craving nicotine. I'm addicted. I'm an addict to it. So, like, I need it, or at least that's what my brain tells me because I've convinced myself long enough that I need it. So, I was really craving it, and I didn't want my sisters to have to get up this morning in this cold. I didn't mention this, but it's well below 20 below. It's very cold. I'm not sure what the temperature is right now. I'm not going to look it up, but I know it's negative 20 at least. So that tells you it's very, very cold. I'm pretty sure they said with the wind chill it was supposed to be up to like negative 50 or 55 degrees today, which is nuts. I don't think I've ever experienced that cold of temperatures in my life before. Not yet, at least. So I bundled up a lot, and I didn't want to ask my sisters. I didn't want them to have to get out in this, so I figured I could save them a trip, and I would be doing them a favor by not asking and just taking the initiative on myself and using my bicycle since I have that option. And it wasn't very far. It's only maybe 3 miles. I don't even think it's 3 miles, but I think it's a little bit further than 2 miles. But anyways, it's not that far, especially for a bicycle. It's really not that far. It's maybe a 5-minute trip typically on a good clear day. But I made a mistake. I didn't check my tires. I didn't check anything on the bike before I left. I should have. And that was a mistake. That was mistake number one. I probably made several mistakes in this trip and in the story, but that was a big one, and that was kind of the catalyst of this whole situation. I noticed that on my way there, or as I was approaching the store, there's a ramp where you go up. Well, this ramp, I kind of it's a sharp turn. So on my back tire, I end up, hitting the curb on the little part of it, and you can feel on a curb when your tire is low because you'll feel the rim hit the curb, right? And that's what happened. So I knew it was that low, basically flat. And if it wasn't 100% flat, it would be very, very shortly. And so when I felt that and I was approaching the door and I was getting off the bike and rolling it and putting the kickstand down, I glanced at the back tire, and sure enough, I noticed crinkling in the sidewall of the tire. And that right there tells me that it's extremely low. It is flat. I mean, and like I said, if it's not completely flat, it will be within a minute or less. So I knew it was flat, but I figured, hey, it's not that far. It is snowing out, so that will allow me a little bit more cushion and soft impact on the rim and the tube, so maybe it'll make it. I was wrong. I made it maybe 4 or 5 blocks, and then the tire finally, I was feeling, the seams on the sidewalk. Even though there was about a couple inches of snow, I could feel the seams. At first I couldn't feel the seams of the sidewalk. All I felt was just smooth snow, so it was like, it'll be fine. It would just be like running on a flat tire, and it'll make it. But as soon as I started feeling the seams where the separation of the sidewalk meet, that do 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 do. I knew it was rim, like the tire came off of the rim. I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't. Riding on a flat tire would be okay. I could deal with a new tire, but riding on just a rim, I'm not gonna do that to my bike and potentially um, um, further damage my bike beyond a tire. I didn't want to do that. And I was trying to think about the longevity of my bike, and I like to take care of my things, and it was a gift, and I'm fortunate enough to receive such a nice gift. I need to take care of it, and so I'm trying to. But I'm freezing. I'm beginning to freeze. I'm beginning to reach freezing temperatures. Like my fingers are hurting. They If I take the gloves off at this point, it was so cold, they hurt so bad, they were so useless that I was afraid that if I took the gloves off, I wouldn't be able to get them back on. And they were so cold with the gloves on at that point that if I did take them off, my hands would have been done. I wouldn't have made it. It's that cold. And I did not account for that. I was not expecting that. I bundled up. I put 3 pairs of gloves on, 2 pairs of thin gloves, and then my good leather gloves with the insulated fox fur over those. They were so thick that I could hardly even grip my handlebars, let alone use my brakes or push the throttle. It was very hard to use, so I didn't have a lot of mobility in my fingers as it was physically without the cold temperature or them being numb and hurting. So that was really bad. I also had 2 balaclavas on, my gator neck, my beanie, my sunglasses. My sunglasses were fogging up. They were so fogged that when I entered the store and took them off, it was just ice on them. And I had joggers underneath my jeans, 2 pairs of socks on, and then plastic bags over those socks. Everything on me was fine. It was my hands, or I guess my fingers really, that was like, it just not usable, and they were not gonna last one more minute. They wouldn't have last. And had that guy not came and got me, I honestly, I don't believe, I know I would have gotten frostbite today, at least on my fingers, and hopefully, I mean, who knows? I've had frostbite one time, but it was right before the level of like them, like being like permanently damaged. And I was a kid, but I I remember that feeling vividly, and it's not fun. But anyways, back to the story. So once I had finally realized that I could not ride the bike anymore, I got off, I started to push it. The bike weighs 75 pounds, and that's just the bike, right? And if it would roll freely, it probably wouldn't be that bad at all, unless you're going up a crazy incline hill, and I wasn't. I was maybe had like a 10-degree hill, not a very steep hill, but it was a hill, and it does add to the effect. So 75 pounds plus the wheel was off. The back wheel wasn't even spinning anymore because the tire had come off the rim. And since I'm pushing it, it's just dragging and catching snow and just dragging. It was so hard to push. My body was probably like this with my hands up here, my ass back here. That's how much of an angle I had to force to push that bike. The 75 pounds probably turned into at least 85 to 95, maybe 100 pounds is what it felt like. There was no way I was going to make it that distance in that cold with that weight. And my lungs, of me being a smoker, I was already beat. My lungs already hurt. I was already having trouble breathing. Plus, I was panicking and starting to hyperventilate on top of that. I was so terrified, dude. I thought that, like, I was thinking about giving up and, like, about me waking up, if I did wake up or survive, in a hospital, to finding out that I had to have my fingers or hands amputated and I don't have hands anymore or something like that. Like, I was terrified and it was real. And yes, maybe I did kind of over exaggerate and blow it a little bit out of proportion, but in the moment, that's exactly how I felt, and I'm not blowing that feeling out of proportion at all by any means. And I was afraid for my life, and I was really genuinely worried. But I ended up giving up and throwing the bike down, and at that point I was so frustrated, angry, scared, and terrified that I no longer cared about the health of the bike. So I threw it down. And the kickstand, when the back tire or either of the tires get low enough, the bike doesn't set up high enough for the kickstand to keep it up, so it'll just fall over anyways. So I just tossed it down and said, I'm done, bro. This is where the bike is gonna stay, and I might too, because I can't go any further, and I'm not going to leave the bike here to get stolen. So, which sucks. That's how bad addiction is, guys. That's how badly I'm addicted to nicotine, and that's how badly I want to quit nicotine because of things like this. It causes such a problem in my life. It is an inconvenience to the people that I love. It is an inconvenience to me. It is an inconvenience to everything, and I'm tired of it. And I'm not joking. And I want everybody, seriously, please, please do me the biggest favor you ever could and hold me to this. After these 2 pods, I'm done. I'm done fucking quitting. I'm done. I'm quitting. I'm done. I can't do this anymore, bro. It's ridiculous. That's how bad cigarettes are, kids. Don't. Like, I have an addictive personality, and like, I'm gonna find something else to replace it. I prefer it be drones because that's healthy and it doesn't hurt me. Cigarettes are killing me, and they are gonna get me killed if I don't stop one way or another. And anybody watching this video, if you smoke, you need to quit. Not because I told you to, but because it's good for you. And it's better, and you're going to live longer, and you're going to thank yourself, you're going to thank me, you're going to appreciate it so much when you can play with your nieces and nephews and not feel winded after 20 minutes. Cigarettes are so bad, and addiction is so bad, and it comes in so many forms. You guys, I've been an addict since I've been aware that I was an addict. And it sucks and it's hard, so I get it. We gotta find help, but dude, what happened? I need to thank this man. A man picked me up. 3 cars passed by me. 2 before I got a hold of my sister. I called my sister. I ripped my gloves off. I called my sister. I did get a hold of her. At first, I wasn't even going to call her because I didn't even know if I'd get a hold of her. And I didn't want to take the chance of taking those gloves off and not being able to get them back on. But I had to. I didn't have a choice. That was the only option that I could think of that had a possibility of a good outcome. So I did it. And as I was on the phone with her, frantically explaining to her what was going on and trying to just say that you need to do this right now without it seeming like a demand, like I'm trying to tell my sister what she needs to do with her life because I don't want to be that guy to anybody. But it was an emergency. But I didn't have time to say it was an emergency. She started to explain to me that she would try and that she didn't know if her car was going to start. My brain, I don't have time for explanations, so my brain said, that's a no, Ryan. Fuck it, you're on your own, walk. So I hung up. I figured that she probably was going to go anyways and she would be on her way shortly, and she was, and she did. And thank you, Raven. I love you so much, and I appreciate you. And I'm sorry that I made you get out in that shit. But I'm glad you were there. You were there for me, and I really do appreciate it. And I love you so much. By the time she had already left her house, a guy had stopped for me. A guy in a black truck finally stopped, and before I could really even finish my sentence, he put the truck in park and got out and ran around to me as I was explaining, and he popped the cap on his hood, or on his bed, so I could toss the bike in the back, and he helped me do that. I offered him $20 and he turned it down because he's a good person, obviously. I don't know your name, dude, and I wish that I would have thought to get your name. Thank you for the ride. Thank you for turning down that $20. Thank you for saving my life, potentially, today. You did an incredible fucking thing, and I just can't wait until I can do that for somebody else. Because that was an amazing thing, man, and I appreciate it so much. So thank you, dude. And honestly, I hope that I'm fortunate enough to cross paths with you again someday, because I'll never forget your face. I want to thank you personally again. Thank you, dude. I think you saved my life today, and I can't repay you, but I want to. And I don't know you, but I love you, dude. You're an amazing human being, and there needs to be more people like you. And I hope that you inspire more people like me in your life to be better and to consider other people, more often. So thank you, dude. And also, again, thank you, Drew, for the ride home yesterday. Yeah, this is really long. Thank you, guys. Be careful out there, and if you see somebody today who's homeless, do something for them. Whether it's like give them the shoes you got on, or the socks you're wearing, or a shirt laying in your back seat, or your favorite jacket, like something. It doesn't matter. It doesn't even have to be something of yours. Buy them a coffee. Give them $1. Like, if you got hand warmers, give them some hand warmers. It's too fucking cold to be out there right now, bro.